Welcome to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers with Linda Prio. Will it be possible to remain in my home as I age? Do I feel safe in my home? How do I figure out how much support I will need when my health needs start to change? What if I decide to move into a community instead? Which community will meet my needs now and in the future? Who will play a role in helping me with decision making? Do you ask yourself these same questions? Aging in Place Strategies and Answers can help you gain practical knowledge that will help you create your own Aging in Place roadmap. If you are already a care partner, a power of attorney, or in crisis mode with your Aging in Place strategy, you will learn what you need to know that you don't know. For over 20 years, I have been marketing Aging in Place services to clients and educating families and healthcare professionals in how to put aging in place strategies into place. When you utilize aging in place, you are allowed to choose where you want to live and make those decisions so that you can retain your quality of life. Hi, listeners. One thing I've learned doing this podcast over this past year is that you meet some incredible people who have incredible missions and are using podcasts and YouTubes to get that information out to people. Recently, I was interviewed on Run Radio with Trina Wilcox, and the Arthritis Foundation is partnered with Trina, and it was my pleasure to be with her on the podcast talking about arthritis and sharing more about aging in place strategies and answers, as well as care that might be needed as arthritis symptoms. Maybe there's a flare, or maybe your arthritis symptoms are worsening. Before we begin the podcast today, I want to give you a few statistics that there are more than 52 million adults and 300,000 children in the U.S. that have some form of arthritis. So chances are pretty good that you're going to know someone who has the condition. The term arthritis comes from the Greek word for joint and inflammation. Did you know that there are more than 100 types of arthritis and related conditions? But the hallmark symptom of arthritis is joint pain and or stiffness, which is usually worse in the morning or after periods of inactivity. Other symptoms might include fatigue, eye problems, poor appetite, fever, rash, and joints that could be red or warm to the touch. Sometimes symptoms can develop suddenly or slowly, but it is always good to check in with your doctor if you are experiencing these symptoms. Now, the cause of arthritis is really unknown, but scientists think that genes, environmental triggers, an immune system that doesn't work properly, and lifestyle factors such as obesity and injury are contributing factors. Early diagnosis and treatment are key to slowing disease progression and or preventing joint or organ damage. Your primary care doctor might diagnose and treat your arthritis. However, you might need to see a rheumatologist, a doctor that specializes in treating arthritis. Keep in mind that there's no single test for arthritis, so your doctor is going to be asking a lot about your personal and family medical history, also examining your joints for swelling and tenderness, as well as testing your range of motion. Now, a word from our sponsor.
Are you looking for resources on senior living? Check out guideforseniorliving.com for our free online senior resource guide to find senior housing, care, and community connections. Start searching now at guide number 4, guideforseniorliving.com. That's guideforseniorliving.com to find the contact information for senior housing, care, and community connections.
Now let's return to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. My name is Trina Wilcox, and my guest today, another person giving back to the Arthritis Foundation of Missouri. They have partnered together, doing great things. I want to introduce Linda Prio with Continuum. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate that. So nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, and I just learned you also have a podcast, so you kind of know how this works.
I do.
We'll talk about that too, which I'm excited about. But let's talk about how Continuum started, how you partnered with the Arthritis Foundation, all that good stuff.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So I've been working in health for quite a few years now, and we have a very segmented, siloed, disjointed health system. And so my job is really as a marketing professional and an educator. And I realized very quickly that nobody was talking. They weren't talking to each other, provider to provider. But what happened is now the family or the person going through the process is sort of trying to figure out a lot of terminology and information that they don't really understand. And sometimes that doesn't really gel with common sense, right?
Yeah.
But it just didn't translate well for the families. So I've stayed in this space because I know how important it is for families and clients and patients to find their voice and understand their role in their healthcare, but also to try to help cross over with educational marketing so that people feel more successful and fulfilled in their roles, like they're really helping their patients to a higher level.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I started. I came to work for Continuum in 2012 and have been here ever since because we meet a very important need for people in that folks, as they age, want to stay at home for as long as they can.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way we are. Nobody said, I want to leave my home and go someplace and live in a community, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. So what we offer to people is that option, no matter what it looks like. And so we support independence at every stage, no matter where you are. And then I had the pleasure and privilege to really connect with Dolores in St. Louis, and she is the executive director of the Arthritis Foundation. And we just met, and she understood what I did, and I understood what she was trying to accomplish for the people in our community that were underrepresented, or underserved actually, in their journey with arthritis. And so we became a sponsor last year in 2023 and are continuing that sponsorship in 2024.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, what about younger folks? I know that you were saying, a lot of times as people age, they feel that threat of losing the independence, but there are also that age group where we're diagnosed younger, and the last thing we want to do is be a burden on anybody, but sometimes we need help to be independent. Do you accommodate all age groups?
Yes, not pediatrics. That's a specialty, obviously, but yes, young adults as well as seniors. And yes, I shared with you in some information that I sent you that my nephew suffered from JRA, was diagnosed at probably around 3 or 4. And then incidentally, the girl that he is seeing has also been diagnosed with JRA.
Wow.
And so I'm very familiar with how that looks and the struggles as well. And then my sister-in-law really suffers from rheumatoid arthritis as well. So it's a family affair for the Prio family, being aware of that. So yes, the key here is to support independence at every stage. And so we don't have a lot of young folks, which I think is really great on our services. But there may come a time when that might be necessary. So yes, while we tend to work with mostly seniors, obviously our services are available to also young adults. So we just don't have that really I haven't seen that. So I think that's an encouragement to you, to anyone, to you who's suffering from arthritis, is that actually the trajectory is really pretty good. Right?
It's getting better, right? With the awareness, the resources, and the support from the community, it's getting better, and medication is changing. So that's great.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk about some of your services. What does it look like for someone that either notices themselves or a caregiver sees that someone needs some help? How do they get involved with you? What do they need to look for? What do they need to bring to you? How does it all start?
It usually starts with just a phone call and a conversation, that they're either beginning to see some changes in their loved one. Maybe it's somebody advocating for themselves. Hey, I can see that I need help. Maybe it's a younger person still working and they're concerned about their loved one being at home alone. And so that's where we usually meet people. There's some sort of need that is presenting itself, and then it starts with the conversation. And then we are unique in our space in that we are a professional organization that practices care management, case management, really, with every client, which means that we're not just looking at your diagnosis and the problem that we're trying to solve. We're really looking at this from a holistic point of view, and including you very much in the center. We're not telling you what we're going to do for you. And I think that's scary for people. They think that we're going to come in and say, hey, this is what we're doing for you. No, we want to hear the things that you're struggling with and how best we can support you independently. So that's how it begins. It's always just question and answer. And then we go to the next level of meeting in the home, which is free, and looking at the home environment. Maybe we can make some suggestions. Maybe it's just technology that's helpful to you. But this is what we can do, is that our services are private pay. They're also available for veterans, and they are also Medicaid or state funded, special financial need folks. They're available that way too. And so depending upon the client and what their needs are, maybe it's going to shopping and bringing things home, and then opening, or getting those things that are harder to open, and getting things so that you just have to lift off the top or whatever it is. We see that a lot. It's that twist, reflex that's so hard sometimes. Sometimes people have their laundry in the basement. The basement is not accessible at this point, so we can help with laundry. Light housekeeping, put the dishes in the dishwasher, out, help prepare meals, or stand alongside somebody who wants to prepare their meal, but because of the disease process is so tired afterwards that we can just clean it all up and make it look perfect again. And really, that's a lot of emotional support. People think, I've got to pay for that. Well, it's the emotional support. If you are not feeling well and you're watching your world get messy, dishes everywhere, laundry undone, things not taken out, trash not taken out, trash not taken to the curb, beds not made, or bed sheets not changed. That really pulls you down emotionally. So there's a support factor that comes from that. Transportation is something that we offer our clients. We're also able to help with dressing and grooming. And so at the advanced stages, maybe somebody needs a little extra support on and off the toilet, or in and out of bed or the shower. And so we can provide as much support or as little. And then we also recognize that sometimes when you have a disease process, it can affect your cognitive skills. And so we are able to help folks that are suffering from dementia or cognitive impairment or disease-related cognition decline. And we can do that in a couple of different ways. We're able to provide care in the home with cueing and reminders and one-on-one care. But we also have a beautiful adult day program. We call it the Club.
Yeah.
And it focuses on folks that need more socialization, more stimulation, and they're able to get a warm meal, be with other people just like themselves who are in the same situation, but to have so much stimulation and socialization that it really helps preserve and sometimes flatline the experience that we're having at home all by ourselves.
Yeah. Because people with these chronic conditions, they tend to want to withdraw, and that's the least thing that needs to be happening. You're absolutely right. Yeah, get out, socialize, be with other people.
And that's hard. We say that, and we know that that's so important. I was just talking about that with my sister-in-law this weekend, is that we know that as our lives change, the groups that we're interested are going to change. But how do we jump into that, you know, socially? So important, social engagement. And that's one of the reasons why people do like to go to communities and live. So I'm not anti-community. I'm just saying that there's different ways to solve this progression of the disease. And what do you want to do with that? And if you want to have care at home, it's totally possible.
Do you do overnight care?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk about then the people that help you out. It takes a very compassionate, understanding person to help do this kind of work. What if someone is listening and thinking, man, I would like to serve. Do they need to be a nurse? Do they need to be certified in anything? Explain what that person needs to have in order.
Yes. So if somebody wants to become a caregiver, is that what you're asking? Yes, which is great. Just give us a call or reach out to an agency in your location and make that introductory call. But no, you do not have to be a nurse or a certified nursing assistant. But we are finding that the care needs have advanced. All right. So it's not just companionship care. Usually it's hands-on care. Okay. So you can get experience by taking care of a family loved one. And we're also going to want to see that you have obviously compassion is the number one.
Yeah.
And being safe to be in your home. If you're not safe to be in my home, we're not going to hire you.
Yeah.
So if we wouldn't allow somebody in our homes, we're not going to allow them in your home. So obviously background checks are going to be very important to us. We're one of the few agencies that drug tests. These are our employees, so you would be covered with liability insurance and workers' comp. So compassionate care, somebody who's really interested in helping somebody be successful, and that because each client is unique, we're also matching that skill set with that client. But obviously, if somebody wants to become a caregiver, you would start off with more of a companionship, like housekeeping, transportation, shopping shifts. And then we offer additional training as well in our office. So yes, we would love to talk to anybody who's interested in becoming a care partner for someone who needs extra help.
Talk a little bit about some of the clients that you have served as far as how you've seen their lifestyle improved. for getting involved with Continuum?
Yes, great question. We actually start and end clients all the time.
Yeah.
So at times, people only need a little support to get over the hump, and then they're back on their feet again.
Yeah.
So many times with arthritis, you might have a flare where you're doing really well, and then there's a dip, and you're just trying to figure out how this is going to look and knowing that you just need that extra support. So I would say that many of our clients, probably over 80% of our clients, come to us when there is a need that we're trying to solve. And as they improve by getting back on track with their medications or diet or exercise or therapies, and those healthcare needs diminish, then they just end their services with us. Okay. And if it should happen again in the future, then we bring them on service. But we are able to help patients all the way to our clients to end of life if needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, a lot of people improve. And that's really what we're designed to do, is to come alongside, help you get better by putting enough interventions in place to help you be successful.
Yeah.
And that's where we find our clients, families, or the client themselves is like, no, that's just too much care. And we're just trying to say from our experience, do you really want to readmit to the hospital, or do you really want to be safe and have the best opportunity to get well?
You could almost look at it as another form of medication. Like if you need this to function better, take it. So take the help as a form of being better and being more independent and feeling, better inside as well.
And that's really, I think you just tapped into that. Something that's really hard for everyone is to say, I need help.
Yeah, it really is.
In my younger years, I was blessed to know several ladies who had MS. And of course, it's another disease that hits people so differently. Everybody's situation is so different. But that's what I noticed about them, that they were able to ask for help when they needed it. And then when they didn't need it, okay, I'm good again. Yeah. Thanks so much for the help and support. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm back on my feet again.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes, is a little bit of support to go a long way.
Right.
Let's talk about your podcast, what you talked about, where people can go to hear it.
Yes. Well, after years of experience and working with families and being in this space, I understand the lack of knowledge that people have. So whether it at whatever stage you find yourself in a health situation, obviously we love to have lots of information, but sometimes navigating your health system is not as easy as we would like for it to be. And you may also be not only navigating it for yourself, you might be helping senior parents, right? Or friends or partners or whatever. You want to help them live their best life. And I feel like living my best life includes education and knowledge. If I don't know what I need to know, I can't really make a decision, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But if you tell me what I need to know or help me to learn that, then I can move forward. I'm not sitting looking at the blue swirl on my computer just going around and round and round. Right?
Yes.
And I think sometimes professional guidance is underutilized. I've noticed that families think, well, I know it all.
Yeah.
I don't know it all. My mother lived to 100, and believe me, I had to navigate that as an only child every day.
Oh, right. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't get the easy plan, even if you're knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So I do find that professional guidance and help is underutilized. So my podcast is called Aging in Place, Strategies and Answers. I launched last year out of a desire to get information out to people who might find themselves in this space. And so I offer guidance and education on a variety of different topics that you're going to experience as you plan to age in place, as you plan to retire and think about what's next, how you're going to live this longevity. Because like I just said earlier, and you agree with me, trajectories are really good. But we know that sitting down doing nothing is not really good for us, right?
Right.
So it is full, jam-packed of wonderful advice. So really sharing it with others and, following the show is wonderful. I appreciate all that. But my higher aim is that it's really beneficial mentally, emotionally, and physically to the people who listen.
Yeah, I'm glad you're sharing that. First of all, patient advocacy, there's not enough of it. We have to be our own advocates. It's like you're saying, the conversations between the patient and the healthcare system are difficult to navigate, and it's stressful. And to have someone else, to be able to turn to for some answers or ideas even is so helpful. It's amazing, because I think about times where I don't feel well, but I know what I have to do to bug the pharmacy, bug the doctors, all this kind of stuff. And it's hard. And for people that don't know that, and maybe they're newly diagnosed, it stresses me out for them to think that they're not knowing that they've got to push. They've got to do the calls. They've got to stand up for themselves, because it won't just happen.
Yes.
So I'm glad that there are those resources and other people saying you've got to advocate for yourself. You've got to get people in place to help you out. And I have a friend now who's navigating the waters of being an only child and aging parents. And it's it's a lot on her shoulders.
We think it's going to be easy. I was I'm a mom of 3 adult children now, and I thought I can take care of my mom. This is no problem. Take care of my mom, work, be a grandmother, be a good employee, blah, blah, blah. I think day 2, I remember thinking, what just happened to me? Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to make it. So fortunately, I have established coping skills along the way, but there's all kinds of times where I had to lean on my office staff and say, what is my next step? Because my head got into a blur. I was emotionally connected. Yes. And that's what the professional advice does. You're sitting in a swirl. Whereas because I'm a professional and I have no emotional skin in the game, no financial gain in the game, I can cut through all the noise and just guide you to the next step. And that to me is invaluable.
It is excellent. And I'm sorry you had to go through it, but I'm glad you're turning it around and sharing your experience. What were some of the surprising things you said by day 2? What were some of the things that hit you all at once that surprised you?
Well, I think we don't understand as a caregiver the emotional component.
Yeah.
And so at the end of every podcast, I always have a caregiving tip.
Okay.
Because I failed, right? I took care of everybody above myself, right? But I think the emotional, the skill set was there.
Yeah.
The organization, lining things up. So I need to get up at this time to take care of myself. I need to get my mom's pills, her food, get everything lined up for the caregiver that was coming in. I need to have what I needed to go to work, right?
Yeah.
And then the other support systems that helped me out. So it was really the emotional component of watching a loved one who is starting to fail.
Yeah.
And then the organizational skills that I needed to get on top of my life rather than to have things keep hitting me that I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made me a good employee. It wouldn't have helped me to help my loved one and then my extended family. So I think those were the key things. So I'm really committed to care partners and caregivers and knowing the struggle.
Yeah.
And I think we underplay the emotional component. We feel that we can just handle it all. And it's not true. You're going to go down and you're going to go down hard. And nobody wants to do that.
No. So organization is very important. That's a key takeaway.
Yes.
What about, let's see, I had another question if I can remember. You brought up something, the caregiver sometimes gets forgotten in the whole relationship of everything. You've got the doctors, the patients, the supportive family that's asking about the patient, but forgetting to ask how the caregiver is. What kind of advice could you give to people who want to be supportive, but really, they don't know either, really. They've not been through it, but they feel for you and would like to help, but don't know how. What would you say to them?
Right. Sometimes caregivers have the mentality that they can do it all themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then they push people away by not allowing people to help. It's an MO. It's really, and I see that because we hire caregivers.
Yeah.
And that caregiving personality is a beautiful thing. You're never going to find a more compassionate, loving, kind person than a caregiver, but they always feel they're the only ones who can do it.
Yeah.
So that is a problem. In every situation I remember talking to somebody and they said, we have 15 family members and we're all going to be there to help. The next day they called and they said, remember, we had all 15 people and they were going to be there to help. Well, only about 4 of us are really committed. So we know that the numbers diminish, all right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be one caregiver that wants to be there in the hands-on stuff. There might be another caregiver who wants to be there financially. I can pay the bills. I'm good at bills. I'm organized. I've got spreadsheets. Give me all of that financial decision making, and they trust. There's a trust relationship there, right?
Yeah.
There's some people who are really good shoppers.
Yeah.
And they take on that role as being the shopper. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes there's a person who wants to be the medical person. I'll take them to the doctors. I'll report back to all of you. And then sometimes they're just me.
Yeah.
Right. And I was an only child. So it was on me to handle this. And a professional care manager can be so good to come alongside and help coordinate what you cannot do. And that's where I think people underplay professional guidance and the role of the professional so that you can continue on. We don't always get to quit our jobs to take care of someone.
Right.
Or quit life.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes when you do that, you really hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So I think, like you're mentioning now and bringing up the importance of that, the expanded role of what that caregiving role could look like, there's a lot of components in that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to bring that up because the statistics are staggering of the number of people in caregiver roles providing unpaid caregiving in this country.
Yeah. And I think you're bringing up a good point too. Great caregivers see the need to take care of someone that needs that assistance, but then that makes them good, but they're forgetting to do that for themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I think I was about a week and a half in and I'm like, hey, I'm doing pretty good, And then I started not sleeping well.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, this wasn't the only thing that was going on in my life at the same time because that's the way it goes, right?
Right, of course.
So I just, like I said, I had to take a back step and say, I have to take care of myself. So I said, nobody needs me at 5:30 in the morning. I walk between 5:30 and 6. It's a discipline I started. It's a discipline I continue. because that's all about me at that moment.
Yeah.
It's about me doing something for me.
Good. And that makes you a better caregiver. Thank you for everything you're doing. Aging in Peace is your podcast. Aging in Place, is your podcast. Thank you for everything you're doing for the Arthritis Foundation. Will you be at the Bone Bash?
I will not be at the Bone Bash, but we're doing the Jingle Bell Run.
Yes.
We did the walk in the spring, which included the younger folks, which was so fun. And I'm telling you, the Arthritis Foundation in St. Louis knocks it out of the park. Fun. Doesn't matter what event you're coming to. Love seeing what they put together. So I'm excited about the Jingle Bell Run. My grandkids and family members got a lot out of it. And we just felt like it was a really wonderful way to support our family members with arthritis and to meet with families who were looking for solutions.
Excellent. Good deal. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate it. Come back anytime, and I will be sharing about your podcast for sure. Thanks for being on mine. You can follow along and listen to more. Link over to watch videos on all platforms from runradio.net. Thank you.
Thank you for listening today. If you suffer from arthritis or you are looking for a great place to volunteer or a place to get involved, please check out your local Arthritis Foundation. As Trina mentioned, the Bone Bash in St. Louis is coming up. You're welcome to get online and see if you can get tickets for that. But every locality usually has a Jingle Bell Run, and you don't want to miss it. It's a great way to get the holidays started and support those with arthritis, especially our younger folks, but also seniors and others with autoimmune diseases. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for joining me today. Please remember that this podcast is intended as guidance and not advice. Share this podcast with friends and family who are currently in crisis mode or with people who would like to start developing their own roadmap for aging in place. Listeners, if you would like a deeper dive into a topic discussed during a podcast, please subscribe to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, where you will be able to access premium content. Or if you would like to suggest a topic for this podcast, please contact me at linda.agingstrategies@gmail.com. As always, I value the time you spend with me.